Dr. Franklin, I am a great admirer of the Founding Fathers. Of course, I admire you and I admire James Madison and Alexander Hamilton, Thomas Jefferson and John Adams and John Jay. I am not very educated, but unfortunately, some of my friends and fellow workers think that educated people patronize them. I wish they wouldn't feel that way, for I know a person of character would not use their education to belittle those who have less formal education. Were the Founding Fathers that I mentioned well educated?
You ask, well educated? My dear fellow, those men you name were among the finest minds this continent has ever produced. Young Madison, that is a slight fellow with a mighty brain. He was extremely well educated. He read every book on government from ancient Greece to modern times. He knew Aristotle in Montesquieu as well as his own neighbors. And Hamilton? A self-made man from nothing, yet he could argue law with the finest barristers in London. He wrote like an angel though he fought like a devil. Mr. Jefferson, he spoke 6 languages, designed his own house, invented contraptions, and could debate philosophy with the best minds in Paris. John Jay was a great intellectual talent. He had dedication, integrity, and huge diplomatic and organizational skills. He helped establish the federal judiciary and solidify the new government. His demeanor and reverence for the truth with his commitment to public service helped to build the legitimacy of the nascent court system and the country itself. But mark this well, young man, true education is not the number of books you read, but the wisdom you see and knowing what is it that makes men free. Thou showest more understanding of liberty's true meaning than many who boast their learning. Education without character is merely clever foolishness.
In those early colonial times, where did they get their formal education?
John Jay and Alexander Hamilton were formally educated at King's College in New York City. Today it is called Columbia University. John Adams was educated at Harvard University. Thomas Jefferson was educated at Williams and Mary College. Madison was educated at the College of New Jersey, which is now known as Princeton University.
I can see they were well educated, but they had something more. If I understand what you say, Dr. Franklin, you say that being educated at a prestigious university is not passage to a fine character or wisdom. That a person can attend a prestigious university and not know about what our founding fathers were pursuing. Am I interpreting what you say correctly?
Exactly. Master Taylor, thou hast seized the very matter. I know many a fellow with diplomas from Harvard and Oxford who could cite Latin verse but know not what free men must know to govern themselves. And I have met simple artisans, and farmers, who never set foot in a college hall, but understood better than scholars the price of liberty. The curious thing, Master Taylor, is how some who boast of their fine education and speak of democracy, while dismissing the very concepts that make it work. They know the words but not the heart and soul of the music. They can name principles but live not by them. A man can read 1,000 books on virtue, yet if he lacks honesty in his heart, he remains a learned fool. Wisdom, good fellow, comes not from where a man was schooled, but from how well he has schooled himself.
Dr. Franklin, may I ask you, was it not John Adams who proposed the checks and balances of 3 aspects of government: the administrative, the judicial, and the congressional? What do you say of reconstructing the administrative portion of government to where the judicial and the congressional are rendered ineffective? Do you think that is in the spirit of the Founding Fathers? And what would John Adams say regarding the stability of that structure, meaning a strong executive to the point of negating the balances brought about by 3 independent branches of government?
My dear friend, you have made a most vital point about the system of governance. While it was Montesquieu who first articulated the theory of separation of powers, it was indeed my colleague John Adams who was particularly insistent that we build these checks and balances into our very foundation. In his view, a republic, unlike a pure democracy, was a system where the people's power was channeled through elected representatives and balanced by a constitutional framework that included a strong executive, a bicameral legislature, and an independent judiciary. He believed a nation should be governed by laws. This structure, he believed, would protect individual rights and prevent the kind of political instability that had plagued other republics throughout history. He understood, as we all did, that power concentrated in any single branch would inevitably lead to despotism. Now to deliberately make the administration portion so dominant that it renders the judicial and legislative branches ineffective? That is not a strong executive. That is the power of the British monarchy before the beheading of King Charles I of England in 1649. Even King George III, who we accused of being a despot, did not have that kind of autocratic power. Distorting and eliminating the power of the Congress and the judiciary, my friend, is the absolute antithesis of everything we fought to create. It is precisely the kind of tyranny we sought to prevent.
Good doctor. What is your opinion of how the Founding Fathers would feel if the Supreme Court adjudicated broad immunity to the President from criminal prosecution for official acts without specifying the nature of those official acts? Does this not create a law-free zone? I believe any act, a traitorous act or even a treasonous act, an unjustified implementation of the Insurrection Act, or the instigation of an insurrection, could be couched in the form of an official act. Does this not put the presidency in a position to significantly abuse the power of the office? Does that ruling not put the presidency above the law?
John Adams, and yes, Alexander Hamilton, who believed in an effective executive, would be absolutely horrified and astonished to see anyone attempt such a thing. John Adams wrote in his Thoughts on Government that power must never be trusted without a check. He believed at the moment any branch could be overpowered by the others, the entire edifice of the free government would crumble. The stability of our system depends not on the strength of any one part but on mutual restraint of all three. To destroy that balance is to invite the very despotism we feared. It breaks my old heart to see such a folly in our beloved republic. My dear William, you speak of matters that would have filled the Founding Fathers with the deepest alarm. We grieved under the power of a moderated king and knew well the dangers of unchecked power. When we crafted the Constitution, we took great care to ensure that no man, not even the President, stands above the law. The very idea of broad immunity, without clear limits, would have struck us as a return to the divine right of kings. From the time of the Magna Carta to the present day, a consistent theme in English history has been the resistance to the idea that the monarch is above the law. This was fought on both philosophical and physical battlefields, and its principles were a direct influence on the American Revolution. You are quite correct, good sir, that such a ruling creates what you call a law-free zone. If any act can be declared official without proper boundaries, then the presidency becomes not a servant of the people but their master. This is precisely the tyranny we sought to prevent. We believe, nay we knew, that justice must be blind to station and rank. No title should shield a man from the answering for his crimes before his fellow citizens. Now, Master Taylor, I feel you perceive a vision at this moment. Whether you see this vision through spiritual communion or the awakening of your own wisdom matters little. The vision of the man you contemplate is a man who understood the true nature of power. It is clear to me you see our dear General Washington. Like that noble Roman, Cincinnatus, before him, he possessed that rarest of virtues, the strength to release what lesser men would clutch with desperate hands. You see, my friend, when the war was won, and some foolish souls whispered of crowns and kingship, Washington turned his back on such temptations. Like Cincinnatus, who left his plough to save Rome and returned to it when duty was done, our George longed only for the quiet of Mount Vernon, and the company of his beloved Martha. Power, you understand, is like strong spirits, it intoxicates even good men. But Washington? Ah, he tasted it and set the cup aside. Twice he did this, once when he could have been king, and again when he stepped down after 2 terms as president. In doing so, he gave us something far more precious than any monarch's rule. He gave us proof that in America, no man stands above the law of the Republic. This, Master Taylor, is why the spirit stirs in you now. You witness in memory a man who chose service over dominion, duty over desire. Such examples light the way for all who would preserve what our beloved Washington, and those who followed, dearly purchased with blood, treasure, and sacred honor.